dedicated to the Honorable Major and the Ascension of Africa. The following film documents the visit in 2010 of the members of the Country Awards Council of Ghana to Israel, Northeastern Africa. Not an ordinary pilgrimage to the Holy Land, they journeyed to the village of Peace in Dimona, where they were hosted by the African Hebrew Israelite Youth Organization, the chosen first fruit. Born of the nurturing and inspiration of their mentor, the late Major Courage Kwashigan, the CACG was moved to follow in the minister's footsteps and employ the model for his much talk about paradigm shift in healthcare, the regenerative health and the nutrition program. During their brief stay, the success of the African Hebrew Israelites in the area of organic agriculture, natural food production, community development, education, and preventive health care were examined for their ability in addressing problems confronting Ghana. What began as a cultural exchange ended as a spiritual awakening. As members of the CACG emerged from the experience with the understanding and appreciation for the central role of spirituality, not religion, in the social, economic, and cultural development of a people.
Dimona. This is a community that has migrated from the US. Some are even from Ethiopia, some from Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana. All of them coming together, living in a small community. And we found out that there is no trace of disease in that community. And they were doing exactly what we were talking about in our written document. That you must eat good food, good nutrient food. I noticed that they had nothing of heart disease in that community, no cancer, no HIV/AIDS. As for malaria, forget about it. It doesn't even exist at all. And I tried to find out what is going on here. They don't even have a hospital. It's not even up to the level of a health post. They have a small area where they do massage and colon cleansing, and then there's a very highly qualified doctor, doctors managing that place. As for food, they have discarded completely meat and fish, and they live on plant-based diet. Plant-based diet is all these things that grow from the earth that you eat: vegetables, fruits, the roots and tubers, all of that. That is what they live on. And they have developed the food in such a way that some of them, when you eat it, they taste like meat. You will never know you're not eating meat.
The late Minister Kwashigan's tenure as a chair saw an unprecedented increase in the development of the Country Award Council's Ghana's contribution to national development. One of his primary objectives was a healthy lifestyle living program, which became one of the flagship programs of the Country Award Council, of which he implemented under the Ministry of Health of the people of Ghana as a then Minister for Health. Throughout his activities and chairmanship of the council, he demonstrated exceptional excellence in implementing this program to touch the millions of lives of Ghana, Africa, and the globe. Basically, his call for the practice of healthy lifestyle is just to inculcate in the mindsets of every individual the idea of living a life that is worthy of living a healthy life and a long life which is in the best interest of Yah. Major Karel Kwashiga traveled extensively the length and breadth of Ghana, Africa and the globe to preach, teach and give lectures and presentations on healthy lifestyle living and regenerative health and nutrition programs. We are proud to say that Ghana is the first to implement a policy at the national level which speaks of promoting healthy lifestyle living. Today, the African Union has recognized the efforts of Major Karel Kwashiga, retired, and has implemented a healthy lifestyle day to be celebrated every last Friday of February each year. Other organizations across the globe, such as the Commonwealth Health Ministers Assembly, the World Health Organization, and other countries are trying to also put up policies that will aim at promoting this agenda. Major Kwashiga was never afraid in doing this. He inspired the leadership of the Country Award Council and the entire staff into believing that his journey to the village of peace in Dimona, Israel and Jerusalem was something that revealed an unprecedented truth that each and every one should have some form of knowledge about what he was preaching. He went ahead and taught each and everyone in the council, as well as anybody around him and the public, about how best such an ideology or such an agenda or program he brought from Dimona will be implemented. His inspiration prior to and after his demise or transition has inspired some of us to be invited as a special delegation of youth to Dimona and Jerusalem in Israel to celebrate the annual New Year Passover and to visit several sacred sites that reveals historical antecedents and gives us a practical hands-on experience of what the makeup of the world has been over the years and where we are heading towards.
For me, this has been an experience that would be with me for a long time to come, because I now realize why I am our own Major Karel Kwashiga, the former Minister of Health of the Republic of Ghana, who trained us, who went through a series of training with us, emphasized on the truth. Be courageous in whatever you do. Be steadfast. Have love for your people. Service to man is service to God. These were some of the words he always drummed into our ears, and he made sure that it became part of us. So when we came here, we really got to understand the reasons why he was telling us that we should always try our best, no matter what, to get in touch with the people of Dimona and the people of the village of peace, to be specific, and under the leadership of His Excellency Benami Israel, we've come to experience practically what he also came to feel over here. And we think, with the kind of upbringing we had under the leadership of Major Karel Kwashiga and the examples he set for us to emulate, we think nothing should stop us in achieving the best for our continent.
As a doctor in the community and the chairman of the Chosen First Fruit Youth Organization, I was blessed to be chosen to be a part of the initial team that went to Ghana to establish the Regenerative Health and Nutrition Program, which gave me the opportunity to be in the field with a hands-on interaction with the establishment of this particular vision and the expansion of this vision, to be able to influence people's lives, to be able to educate people on how to halt this degeneration which they have been experiencing for generations. Sickness, death, illness have become such a permanent reality in many of the lives of the people of Ghana. So much so that death has become big business. And one of the visions of the minister was to make life and living healthy lifestyles a permanent reality, to make that center stage in their lives, and to give the people new hope that they didn't have to necessarily suffer the same diseases and illnesses that they saw their parents or forebears suffer, that they could actually change their lives, improve on the way they perceive things, and as a result of that, change the lives of their offspring. And eventually this particular program would take root and change the entire country.
Major Kwashiga was God sent. This individual realized the original calling of Ghana when Ghana attained her independence in 1957. When Ghana achieved independence and His Excellency Kwame Nkrumah was made the first president, he was referred to as Osajifu. In the Tree language, that means Messiah. So I feel that the Creator was in fact sending a message to the Ghanaian people that their independence was to emphasize the spiritual element, the redemptive element. Ghana was to be a light unto all of the other African nations that would achieve their independence. But very few, after His Excellency, realized that calling. And that brings me to Major Courage Kwashiga. He realized Ghana's messianic calling, and he took a major step to initiate a program whose significance would go far beyond the borders of Ghana. And that means that his initiative was messianic. He would turn the eyes and the ears and the actions of the people of Ghana toward a redemptive cause. And that means that he would transfer the Ministry of Health from one that emphasized curative to one that emphasized preventive. And remember that the preventive element is the spiritual element. It is the God element, because man he's not supposed to get sick. So when an individual begins to emphasize the preventive aspect, that means he has gone back to the book of Genesis, and he is championing now the God idea. Major Courage Kwashiga was in fact one of those very rare individuals that in our generations out of Ghana that realized that Ghana had to play a redemptive role. And subsequently, he made his program in the Ministry of Health a redemptive program. So, in doing so, he became a light unto those far beyond the borders of Ghana. And when you adopt a program that carries the vision far beyond the borders, then that vision becomes messianic. And that was the original vision that was given when Ghana attained her independence in 1957. I want to say emphatically that Minister Courage Kwashiga was an anointed son of Ghana. Country Awards Council of Ghana, I think that they're to play a very significant role, but not so much in their structure, but the fact and their power will come within the context of the project that they are championing, that they are picking up the baton that was given unto them by the late Minister Courage Kwashiga. And through doing so, they too will make their purpose messianic. By that, I would like to just for a moment, go back to emphasize that our problems as African Edenic people, stem from the fact that we have lost the realization that when God is with us, we rise, and when God is not with us, we descend. That everything, every movement, we have to go back and put it within the context of the idea, is God with us, or is God in fact against us, or has he abandoned us? And I'm saying that now, that the Country Awards Council of Ghana, that if they continue to champion that idea, it is a God idea, it is a messianic idea, then that means that their purpose will become messianic, and beyond that, that means that God will be with them. And if God is with them, many of them will rise in prominence in their land, in the midst of their people, and many of them will continue on to rise to great positions of influence, because the influence, the critical influence for our generation is messianic, spiritual influence. The Country Awards Council of Ghana, at this time, they are the most significant youth organization in Ghana. Why? Because they now have the potential, if they continue on with his vision, of becoming anointed. And once they are anointed, that means that God will be with them. And if God is with them, then they will guide other youth, their peers, toward the spiritual significance of Ghana and away from the secular significance of Ghana.
So this particular civilization, I think, if every society is able to put or practice this kind of this form of civilization, I think it will go on a long way to help the African continent to unite. Because if you love your brother as you love yourself, you wouldn't want to go and hurt him. The young ones are being raised under a careful and a systematic cultural process, where the young ones are being monitored as they grow up, get to adolescence. They are put in various categories. There are lessons for them. The priesthood take care of those things, and the institutions are working, and there is discipline, total discipline in Dimona. And I think with a cultural background that I'm coming from in Ghana, the rich cultural heritage that we have, and I've seen a lot of those cultural practices being practiced here, right here in Dimona, in Village of Peace. So I think this is a model that every society to take up, or come here to the Village of Peace and learn how to love and be in harmony with the earth. Because on the issue of regenerative health, we were taught how to eat organic food, plants. Don't use chemicals, because it's not in harmony with creation, or the land that was not what the Lord Almighty created, or that was not the purpose for creation. That is why we have all these distractions, because it is of no surprise that the Euro-Gentiles have not been able to handle or take care of the world as they wanted to, because they've not been doing things in the right way or in the right order as God has placed it. Now I can even really lean on the understanding of the old major, that he always, when he was in the ministries of agriculture, he always referred to the Bible. He always referred to the Bible, and he was asking us that, why do we cut trees? Meanwhile, these trees are supposed to be protecting us. Why do we use chemicals and fertilizers? Meanwhile, we can use simple compost for some form of manure for our plants. And the farm that we visited at Dimona, a lot of drought season over here, yet still you find plants blossoming. This is really a miracle in the desert. If it's not for the hand of God and the ingenuity of the people that live in the village of peace and under the leadership of His Excellency Benjamin, I don't think they would have been able to come this far. Yeah, I'm Dimona. I'm maximizing fitness in one of the gyms. This place is the best place to be. I urge you, every Ghanaian, come to experience life, peace, love. You have to exercise every day, drink water, rest. It's good for the body. You live. There's heaven here on earth. I tell you, my brothers and sisters in Ghana, we love you. We'll be back soon.
I'm Mauli, currently in the village of Peace, Dimona. I'm happy to be in the gym, having fun and maximizing my fitness. And I'm calling every Ghanaian, every individual across the globe to have the chance to experience having a ride in Dimona, because it is good for one to at least experience life over in Dimona. I'm happy to be here. This is my route.
Sisters in Ghana, it's good over here. This morning has been a very, very, very tough day. Haven't exercised in like 6 years on this morning. So Dimona is a place you should visit because it's like heaven on earth. Heaven is right here in our minds on this earth. There's nowhere. So just get things together, come visit, because seeing is believing, as we all say. You got to see for yourself and believe for yourself.
Right now we are at the cover, the community farm, which belongs to members of the Village of Peace. We'll be going there any moment from now to share some experiences with the people who work on the farm. At this material moment, we are here with the Minister of Divine Agriculture, Mr. Yadiel. He's going to tell us a lot about this particular farm. And then as I speak, we have our officials right over here with us too. And then the gentleman who ushered us in. Yeah.
Welcome. Kwap. Welcome to our community agriculture project. This is a bio-organic agricultural demonstration farm and field training center. We say divine agriculture because divine, you hear that word all the time, divine agriculture, divine economics, divine sports and recreation. Divine, in a simple definition, means to do that which is pleasing unto Yah, pleasing unto God. But knowing that people often ask, in their mind, they may not ask directly, how do you please God? And then from an agricultural perspective, we say, well, to please God or to please Yah is to be in harmony with or be obedient to the laws, the relative laws that govern the creation or that govern nature. And we know that there are laws that govern every aspect of nature, even our very lives. There's a big controversy now about the big multinational companies that are now buying all the smaller seed companies to monopolize, like Monsanto and DuPont. And those are chemical companies, right? And their purpose is to create hybrid seeds that don't reproduce themselves if you try to save them, which means that you have to go to the person or the company that creates the seed. So you become dependent on somebody to give you seeds, and seeds is the first link in the food chain. So if you don't have access to seeds, or we have to depend on somebody for seeds, what happens if I don't want to give you seeds?
You don't eat.
Then you can't grow food, then you're at my mercy, right? So we have to go back to what our fathers and forefathers did, and we have to go back to indigenous crops, which they persuaded us through miseducation to give away, stop eating and stop producing, because they said that those crops were primitive, that food was uncivilized. And we began to take on a Western diet. And we began to eat Western foods. All right? So, but the nutritional foods, right, were the indigenous foods, because one, they were adapted to the land already. They were adapted to the soil. They knew how to draw the nutrients out the soil because they were born there, right? They were used to the water and the heat and the different changes in season because they were born there. And consequently, they could draw more nutrients out for us to consume. So basically, a large portion of our diet before we adapted the Western diet was plant-based. Plant-based, nutritional, fruits and vegetables. And those seeds, our farmers always kept seeds from those crops to plant the next season. All right? And we find that now we're losing, we have lost ground because we've given up, right, our right to produce our own seeds. And we now get the GMO seeds and the hybrid seeds and things that are not even part of our environment. So this is a seed crop you're looking at. If you look down the road, this is a seed crop. We call this Hebrew chard. I'll show you the plant. All right, these are actually the seeds that are drying. All right, in Ghana they call it spinach. Okay, and this is the 9th generation of seeds, meaning that 9 years cycles of growing, planting, growing, replanting, growing, replanting. The original seeds didn't come from here. The original seeds came from another climate. So now we have these seeds which have adapted to this environment. So we have actually changed the DNA structure of the plant because now it's adapted to grow in a semi-arid zone. What we are demonstrating, right, basically to rural farmers that we find on the African Indian continent, whether they be in the rural areas in Ghana or West Africa or East Africa, Kenya or South Africa, many places that we go to share our knowledge of how to produce food in a sustainable way without the use of chemicals, insecticides, or chemical fertilizers, but to be able to get the yields that you would get, all right, and to get the quality of food that is necessary for our health, all right, and to protect our environment at the same time. So this type of agriculture, right, is also a ecological approach, okay, because we have to remember that we must protect the environment that sustains us, all right, and in protecting that environment, then it ensures our life in that environment. So when we say to demonstrate, right, we demonstrate the yield or the amount of food that can be grown, right, by a farmer that had just a small amount of land. Okay.
What kind of irrigation methods do you apply?
Okay, what we do here is irrigation, drip irrigation. You see these black tubes? These black tubes are called drip lines. Why are they called drip lines? Because the tube has an opening in it. Okay, an aperture. All right, but there's a technique inside this tube that allows the water to flow through the tube, and it goes like a maze. It goes through a maze, and when it goes through the little maze, it slows the water down, right, to a drip. So if I turn it over, you can see the drip. All right, that's why they call it drip irrigation. All right. But what drip irrigation does is that you can see where the plants are growing. It directs the water right at the root system of the plant, right? So you get maximum use of the water that you have, right? And because it's drip irrigation, you don't get the type of evaporation that you would get if you're using sprinklers, all right? Because sprinklers, you lose a lot of water by the wind blowing the water away from your plant, and at the same time, you lose a lot of water because of the evaporation. Okay. This tree is widely grown in Senegal. Okay, it's used in Senegal. They have plantations of these trees. And we find in Senegal that babies that are malnourished, malnutrition, kwashiorkor, and all of those types of nutritional diseases, it can reverse that in 1 to 2 weeks by just adding the powder to the meal that the baby eats, or the mother taking the powder as a supplement in her meals while she's breastfeeding. The reverse seed is a biocoagulant, all right, meaning that it has the ability to purify water. Okay, but you crush it because you have to release the active ingredient in the seed itself.
So you crush it into a powder?
You crush it into a powder, right? It takes X amount of grams per liter of water. If the water is turbid, dirty, muddy, particles in it, right? You put it into the water, and it draws the impurities to the bottom. Right?
How long does the process like that take?
It takes about 3 or 4 days, right? Depending on how much water you got.
This is really a miracle. A miracle.
Okay, viewers, this is what we have been talking about. The Village of Peace is a nation on its own. We have all sort of ministries running all sorts of discipline. And to be specific, this is the Minister of Divine Agriculture. This is the triumph of knowledge and divinity in pursuance of the truth. You can practice out over there in Ghana, and it's possible. They are able to manage this farm under the worst weather condition. No water, they still maintain it. And it's very necessary that we practice this in Ghana out there. Yeah, we are once again at the Nature's Gate, one of the factories of the Village of Peace. We'll be going in there any moment from now to see how they process their food.
Okay, we produce 100% vegan foods. The first facility was Nature's Gate, was established in 1983. Since then, we did developed and grown, reproduced products for the retail market and the wholesale market all over Israel. We sell to over 60 stores around Israel. And we also produce for restaurants. We provide lunches for the schools every day, catering for the weddings and different affairs. We'll take a tour and I'll show you a few of the products and explain to you about the products that we make here. Again, all of our products is 100% vegan. No meat additives, 100% vegan. And most of our products are made out of two basic products. We have the soy protein, which we make the tofu from. And then we have the wheat protein, which is the gluten that we make a meat substitute from called seitan. Seitan is known to be the closest meat substitute from natural sources. It absorbs any flavors and its texture is close to meat, so we sell that. Right here, what you see, we have a line of non-soy and non-gluten products. You know, there's people that's allergic to soy, allergic to gluten. They have celiac. The people that's allergic to gluten have celiac and they can't eat gluten, so we produce burgers for them.
These are the soaked soybeans. That's how they look. So we're going to grind the soybeans. The soybeans then go from here. Grind it and make a paste.
Now line them up.
Right in front of me are rice burgers, which are in oval shapes. We are to put them in bags in order to put them in the sealing machine for them to be sealed. I'll pass on
partner, we will then put it in the sealing machine for it to be sealed for about 25 seconds. Then it is ready for packaging into the packaging box. We have got two different sets of trays here, which contains almost about 300 pieces of the rice bagging. Upon completion of the packaging, we are going to have about 150 boxes of rice bagging.
Okay, you take that and put it on hold. Set it.
5 seconds.
También va a costar otra cosa.
Just like this. Like this? Yeah.
We wanted to express to you and explain to you the powerful experience that you are going to have with this solar nutrition. Okay? We have reached a landmark in our evolutionary pursuit of perfect health with this application of solar nutrition, solar regenerative nutrition, as part of the regenerative nutritional program of the kingdom. Okay? And this is an epic landmark because this is the evolution back to the ancient times. Back to the ancient times. Before there was the construction of modern technology with your standard ovens, the ancient Israelites were cooking by the sun, by the powerful influence of the sun. And it was only because of our captivity that technology took over and it caused us to lose that connection. But now, after our pursuit of this intellect and pursuit of this application, we have found that we needed to continuously ascend in our nutritional consumption. And with that, we had to venture.
And this particular juncture, we are at a place where we have been introduced to the use of solar energy. To be very frank, I've never seen this technology before. Before we even took our land, there was a comprehensive presentation on the use of these solar devices. We have distinguished personalities who know the use of these devices. Without much ado, I would like to ask them some few questions in order to know the uses of these solar energy. Yes, sister, she's going to tell us a lot about these devices. And to be very frank, I have personally experienced this when she opened this. You can open it for them to see. You can see over here that it's still boiling. Yeah, it tells you that they use these to cook. It is possible for these devices to be used in cooking our food. And then we have tasted the food.
If we go back and you think about the years that stoves was invented, what did we do? We had to have some source that we could utilize in order to do preparation for our foods. And Yah in His infinite wisdom has given us so many elements that are beneficial for us: the water, the air, the sun. And in utilizing the sun, we're seeing that it has many benefits. The properties of the sun that are high in vitamin D is good to help restore the bones and the body in itself. So if you take this infinite gift that Yah has given us and you put it to use with your foods, the food is absorbing it, then you're consuming it, and how much more energy is your body maintaining and enhancing. So I'm saying that these things have been since the beginning of time. We just once again becoming reconnected with these elements.
How can we encourage our African folks out there to replicate this kind of a wonderful invention?
They have to want to understand the importance and value to live. They got to once again understand the value of causing the ecosystems to become back into harmony with the cycles that Yah has created for us. And with that, you have to go out with a whole another zeal and say, this can work, this is good for us, this is what we need to do, this is the path we need to take, and reconnect it again with the element. So it has a lot of value to it, a lot of advantages and things that you can do to achieve this.
These indicate clearly the invention of Africans and our background, and it also shows that even though the Eurogenta civilization had introduced a whole lot of the home appliances, I never knew that we have such a wonderful invention right over here, which means that what they have done, we can even do more than that. And I believe that they can use some of these things in their home appliances. As some of their home appliances, cooking stove, when there's a power outage.
Yes, when there's no gas and when there's no electricity, you can go on and eat and feed your family and feed your community and feed on, because you don't have to worry.
Yeah, folks out there, you know that we have been experiencing intermittently power outages in Ghana, Accra to be specific. Let's say Accra or the whole regions of Ghana. You can purchase one of these things and use as one of your home appliances. No two ways about that. It's a wonderful technology. It's very useful, very powerful, and I wish you were here to experience it. I hope you can see everything right over there. It is cooking, and it's very wonderful. And thank you very much.
In Dimona, the cultural system is very rich. The dress they put on, the way they adhere to social norms, there is no form of indiscipline among the young ones. Especially when I came, I monitored the CFF. They are very disciplined. They love us. When we came, every 5 minutes you'll be asked, every second, are you okay? How are you doing? And shalom, we embraced ourselves as brothers and sisters. Even the elderly are young and very strong. So it's a challenge to me as a young individual that I can live as long as I am in harmony with the earth and I am in direct accordance with the Creator's laws for this particular earth. Because we learned also in one of our classrooms or our lectures that there are lesser laws and higher laws, and therefore the lesser laws and higher laws are just a distinction between what the Creator wants or expects from us and what we are also supposed to do as human beings who have inherited this earth. And I would want to urge through this particular medium that our brothers and sisters all throughout the African continent, we should see ourselves as one people. Our forefathers have done what they could to protect our heritage. There is a rich sense of patriotism over here in the Village of Peace, they welcome everybody all over the continent, all over the world, and they teach us and send us right to our roots, where we are coming from. Amongst our youth today, everything that we do is about the westernized culture. The influx of Western culture in our civilization or our society nowadays has risen to an alarming proportion, where I get very much concerned. Our civilization or our society nowadays has risen to an alarming proportion, where I get very much concerned and very passionate when it comes to our culture. It is only when it is during our festivals in Ghana, our rich festival cultural times, when you find people putting on their kente and being proud of who they are. But as an African, you need to be proud of who you are and be bold to mention, say where you are coming from. Your identity identifies you with a particular group of people. I am not a racist, but I say that everyone, if they are Euro Gentiles, those in America and elsewhere, are proud of who they are and they unite to push their cause forward. Why can we not unite as Africans? And this is the time for us, the youth of Africa, the youth of Ghana. Let us realize that the problem of every youth or anybody in every part of Africa is the concern, or should be the concern, of anybody anywhere on this particular planet. So what I would like to say is that our young ones out there in Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, any part of the African continent, rise up to this civilization and consciousness, and let's move along with the Village of Peace to move or to push the African continent towards its purposeful place on this particular planet, because the Euro Gentiles have proven to us that they cannot more take control of this earth, and therefore this is the time for us, for the Adamic civilization, to take control over the earth. We should stand up and rise up to the occasion. Let's join hands with our brothers and sisters in the Village of Peace in Dimona. I think that the kind of music, there's no censorship in our music in Africa nowadays. The influx of, when you go to Ghana, hip life, hip hop has turned into hip life in Ghana, and the youth dance to it, because I am so much aware that what you listen to, or you feed your mind with, or you feed your soul with, reflects on your attitude and your character. So it is very important that we become very careful of the kind of music we listen to as young individuals, because what you listen to or you feed yourself with shows or has a replication on your character. Don't think there is the music that is coming from the Western world into our African system is just anything that is just there like that. It's been properly planned. They want to influence us with their own culture, the culture that has failed, the system that they've not been able to implement, or they've implemented that has caused the destruction of this particular planet we are living on. The ozone layer is breaking off. Everything about this universe is breaking off, and there's a lot of catastrophe in this particular world we live in. No one is safe, and yet they are telling us that they can take control. They are not telling us about preventive health, but they are trying to tell us how to cure by using medicine. And I don't think it is good for African continent, because when I came here, I've not seen anybody with any chronic disease. Even the elderly, they are strong and very fit. They exercise periodically, at least 3 times in a week. And His Excellency Ben Amin is a very disciplined individual. No matter rain or shine, he takes his physical fitness as one major priority. He does not even joke with it. How much more we, the youth in Africa?
An element of Ghana in particular, and Africa in general, they are suffering from an illusion. They are actually treading on a path of deception. They have been unlearned in the institutions of the West. And the unlearning process compels them to walk away from self. And that means as long as they walk away from self, they become weaker and weaker, because their power is in being themselves. And the institutions of the Western world will compel them to walk away. The message, what has to be understood by the youth in Ghana and the youth in Africa in general, is the significance of self, that they must go back and once again be proud of being in the image of God. They are trying so hard, making such an effort to be in the image of Europe, until they are walking away from the image wherein lies their power. Their power is in the image of self, and they continue to become weaker. History bears testimony to the truth of my words. The farther we get away from self, from being African Edenic people, the weaker we become, the more vulnerable we become. It is time now for the youth of Ghana and the youth of Africa to turn around and face the reality that your strength, your great power is in self. You must go back to the Genesis image, when you were in fact created in the likeness and the image of God. And when you are walking away from self, actually you are walking away from the image of God. Until glory, until value is restored to African culture, there will never be value stored to redemption and the will of God. So the restoration of African glory is like the Great Awakening. But the question becomes, the Great Awakening for what and to do what? And I'm saying that the Great Awakening of Africa is the awakening of the will to once again live on this planet in harmony with the will of God. And through Africa fulfilling that will and bringing her cultural influences to other people on this planet, they too will experience the blessings of that culture, which is in fact the glory of God coming by way of the behavior or the expressions of man.
And I would want to lay much emphasis on our leaders of Africa. Please, we the young ones of Africa, we are calling upon you. We want to look up to you for good leadership. We don't want politics to take the better part of our lives. Our lives mean more than politics. Our lives is more precious to God than politics. If you have a leadership position, know that you are supposed to serve. And we the young ones are also supposed to learn from the spirit of service, because service is life. Because even Yeshua came to serve. God has showed us an example of service in our lives. And I think basically we should do things that are really in harmony with creation. And I would like to once again give thanks to the CFF and everybody in the Village of Peace. They've been so kind and caring to us. We thank them, and we also want to assure them that this particular vision they are carrying on will not stop here. It will go through the continents of Africa, because we the young ones, the CFF of Ghana, we are going to do all that we can. The Country Awards Council, the Country Awards Council, we are going to do all that we can to make sure we achieve our place in indemnity or our redemption, what redemption has for us, and take our rightful places on the planet of this continent, and we will take over. And the Adamic civilization is going to rule, and it will give an alternative, a better alternative to the world to emulate and know how to be in harmony with creation and nature.
Inspired, energized, and empowered with a new idea for African ascension, the Country Awards Council of Ghana plans to further the region vision throughout Ghana and Africa, building upon the strong foundations established by Minister Kwashigan and the visionary leadership of His Excellency Benjamin. The CACG and their host in Dimona have joined forces to provide a much needed breath of life to Ghana and to all Africa.